Come back to it. Why is that? Yes, 4 and 5 and a point. I'll go to number 6. I like it. Why do I like 6? There's a GCF. Yes, Ellie, I heard you. And what are those numbers? 5 get a point. Yes, you can have a point too. 2AB, and we're left with. Yes, 2, 3, 5. No, 2, 4, 5. Get a point. Whew, that was good. Very robotic, but good. A little creepy, but good. Number 7, what are we supposed to do? Yes. And this is where life gets a little hairy on some people's tests recently. So tell me, what do we pull out? I give you that. Now what do I write? And what have I left off right now? Yeah, okay, so there is someone in first period who's very, very good at every other thing except this. They forget to put the sign here. Why is that a problem? Yeah, so on the next step, yes, exactly. So on the next step, they don't know which sign to put. Where if I put the sign, I know for sure it's a +1. If I don't put the sign, then I'm like, is it a +1? Is it a -1? I don't know. So if you pull out a +1, make sure you put +1. If you pull out a -1, make sure you put -1. Because otherwise it messes up your last step. And that's going to end up messing up your answers if we're looking for some actual zeros. Okay, let's back up to number 5. What am I going to use to solve this one? How do I do these? When the leading coefficient is bigger than 1, what do I use? 5 get a point. Guessing check's going to be easy because 3 is only 1 and 3. So I've got to have a 3p. I've got to have a 1p. There's not a lot of options for the first parts of those binomials. My options come with the second parts of the binomials. -5 is either 1 and -5 or -5 and 1. I've got some options. So should I put a +1, a -1? Where should I put the things? Any guess would be lovely. +1, she said. -5. Okay. Now, you're my very, very, very smart class. And that's why I can already tell you that's a bad guess. And here's why. 3p squared, yeah. The last is going to be -5, yeah. But the outer, -15 +1, I already knew that was going to be too big. I think I need to put the 5 over here. Again, I thought in my brain, I don't want to do the 3 times the 5. That's going to give me -15. It's going to be hard to get to a -2 with a -15. So I kind of already knew it was a bad guess. So let me swap them. Maybe it's 3p plus 5, p minus 1. I don't know. So I'm foiling it out. First, 3p squared, outer plus 3p, inner plus 5p, -5p. So 3p squared minus 3p plus 5p minus 5. My guess is not very good either. Why is that? Yes, 5 gets the point. I end up getting a positive 2p. I was supposed to get a negative 2p. I need to correct this somehow. How can I correct this? 5 is probably right. Let's see if he is before we give him that point. 3p squared, yep. Plus 3p minus 5p minus 5, yes. When we combine the outer and the inner, we would get a negative 2p, so 5 can have another point. He is correct on his factoring. My phone players, you realize you just blew the last test. You're about to blow a third test. I'm telling you, ticking time bomb here. Ready to roll any day now and not come back to you for a while. If you like your F, then keep it, but I just own you. Okay, let's go to your notes packet. We did 3 problems yesterday because y'all are awesome. Yeah, we did. We did. We are going to do a couple more today. And then I'll tell you the ones in the study guide that are similar, so you can go ahead and try those. So we got to practice this today and tomorrow. We got one more step on Thursday, and then Friday there is another test. So you have to have, yeah, that's what we talked about yesterday. It was supposed to be on Thursday, but we moved it to Friday. Thank y'all for joining us here on Earth. Now, yes. Okay, now. Oh well, we're happy you're here. I was saying words and they left me. Oh well. Yeah, we're going to do some of these today, tomorrow, Thursday, and then the test is on Friday. Again, this next test is building on what we previously tested on. You still have to know how to factor. You have to know how to graph, what the basics of a graph should look like. You have to still know synthetic division. So everything from the past two Chapter 5 tests is still applicable. So if you thought just because you messed up the difference of cubes in the last test it was going to be okay, it's not. It's going to come back up again. Okay, let's start with number 4 today. So number 4. First things first, let's drop in our calculator. While I'm typing this bad boy in my calculator, what am I expecting the graph to look like? Y. Genius. It's a positive leading coefficient with a 4 as the highest degree, therefore I'm expecting to get a W. 5, get another point. Okay, and then I pressed graph and I freaked out. Why did I freak out? What did you see on your graph? Did you see a W? No, mine did not look like a W. What does yours look like? Someone describe what your graph looked like and get yourself a point. Look kind of like a U. Wasn't really sure. You can have a point. Okay, but even though it's to the 4th power and we were expecting a W, it's okay that we don't actually see a W because it's possible that some of our answers aren't going to cross the x-axis because they are imaginary. 5, are you just trying to get all the points today? 5, have another point. So right now I see 2 legit answers. The other 2 answers are probably imaginary. So in my mind I'm already like, okay, I've got 2 real answers, 2 imaginary answers. Terrific, I can do this. Okay, how do I figure out one of these real answers? What's the easiest button to press? I press trace, and I'm thinking that positive 2 is one of them. So I'll hit 2 and then enter. And I know I'm right because at 2, we do get a y value of 0. So one of my 4 answers is 2. What's the problem with the other answer? It's not. So what does that mean it is in life? What kind of number? It's not imaginary because it's crossing the next axis. Okay, if it crosses between the dashes, what kind of answer is it? It can start with an F or a D. Or, okay, it's a fraction or a decimal. So I could guess, what decimal do you think that is? The way it looks where it's crossing right now, what do you think it is? That's what I was thinking too. I was thinking it was like half. So you can still trace and guess things that are decimals. So trace negative 0.5, is that correct? Sadly, it's not. So yeah, we thought that was crossing at negative 1/2 and we're wrong. But you know, we might be right sometimes. And if you are right and you look on out, we're going to look on out on a different problem. Then life gets easy. But sadly, no. So the only real answer that you and I were able to quickly figure out from this graph is positive 2. So let's go back to our problem. Again, since it's to the 4th power, I'm expecting 4 answers. And sadly, I only know one of those 4 right now. But since I know one of those 4, I can use something we tested on in the first chapter. The first part of this chapter. What is that? Since I know one of the answers, what can I use to figure out some of the others? We did it yesterday. You like it. You're pretty good at it. Yes, 2 get a point. Synthetic division. Okay, so 2, I've got my leading coefficients 5, negative 8, 41, negative 72, negative 36. I quickly do this, so I bring down my 5. 5 times 2 is 10. 10 minus 8 is 2. 2 times 2 is 4. 41 plus 4 is 45. 45 times 2 is 90. 90 minus 72 is 18. 18 times 2 is 36. And while I did that a little quickly, I know I'm correct because why? I got a 0. I need to get a 0 every single time because if that really is a root, then I should not have a remainder. So you get another point. High five. Look, we got a comeback coming. Okay, so all that helped us figure out is that it was to the 4th. So 5x to the 3rd plus 2x squared plus 45x plus 18 times x minus 2 would have given us the original. Okay, Miss Coffey, you said one of the answers was positive 2. Why are you writing x minus 2? Because remember, at the end of the day, when we set it equal to 0, it ends up being the opposite side. So when I said x minus 2 equals 0, I get that positive 2 answer. Now, do you have to write that part? No. I think it helps, but I'm the math teacher. What do I know? We don't have to factor anymore with that, though. We just have to deal with that gray thing. What can we use to deal with that gray thing? Say it. We can, because there are 4 terms. You know what? Sometimes grouping fails us. I don't think it will this time, but we'll try it. Okay, so what can I pull out? I'm going to bring down x minus 2. Yes, ma'am, and you can have another point. If I pull out an x squared, I have 5x plus 2. What do I pull out of the second group? I pull out a 9, and I'm left with... Okay, so I'm happy because these two things match. So my answer is x minus 2. We already had that. Something else, and 5x plus 2. What's the something else? Yes. 5 get another point. Okay, so yay. I know I'm supposed to have 4 answers. So I can set each of these things equal to 0. If I do, and I'm out of room, so I'm going to have to write tiny for some of this. If I do x minus 2 equal to 0, I would get 2. So I'm not going to bother to do that one. I understand that one. If I do 5x plus 2 equal to 0, what do I get x equals? Yes, say it a little louder. It's negative 2/5, but yes.
Miss Compton.
Yes, ma'am.
Can you please send Delaney Williams to Mr. Ferris's office?
Yes, ma'am. Okay, so we did 5x plus 2 equals 0. We got 5x equals negative 2, so x equals negative 2/5. So one of our answers is negative 2/5. That's the answer you and I are seeing on the screen. In fact, if you want to confirm it, you can. If you'll press trace again, and then ask it negative, put in parentheses, 2/5. Yep, that is the other point. So the other point we were seeing on the graph is at negative 2/5, which is negative 0.4. So if you could figure that out with trace, you wouldn't have to necessarily do this, but we couldn't, so we did. No big deal. What about this x squared plus 9 though? What am I going to do about him? Because I'm needing 2 more answers, and how am I getting 2 answers out of this? Yes, it's going to be plus or minus 3i. So I've got x squared equals negative 9. I take the square root of both sides. So I've got x equals square root of 9i plus or minus square root of 9i. Hey, I know the square root of 9 is 3, so I've got x equals plus or minus 3i. Should you have to show all this work No. Should we be that good by now? Probably. But it's okay if you do. You're not going to get counted off for that. You want to make sure you're right, so I totally get it. But again, back to the problem was degree 4, because it was 5x to the 4th. And we were supposed to have 4 answers, and now I do. 2, negative 2/5, plus 3i, minus 3i. I have all 4 answers now. Yay. Okay, are there any questions about that one? Then let's go to number 7, and let's talk about it now. I'll do 7, and then we'll come back to one of the others. So again, it's degree 4, positive leading coefficient, so I'm thinking it's going to be a W. We'll see. I don't know what you got, but I got, if that's a W, then it was drawn by a 2-year-old. However, number 7 is hands down my favorite problem on this entire page. There's a reason for that. Tell me about this graph. There is a bounce. So what does that mean about that negative 2? Yes, it does. 5 get another point. Okay, so what's really cool about this problem, which is what he's hitting on, is that if we could, I wish I could zoom in further. How many answers are we supposed to get on number 7? What degree is it? So how many answers are we supposed to get? How many answers do you see on the screen? But technically, because that one has a multiplicity of 2, technically you see all 4, because it's that one twice. 1, 2, 3, 4. I see all 4 on the screen. Has that happened in any other problem? No. So if Paige is that smart to connect those dots, is she actually going to have to do the math I'm about to do? No. On the next test, I'll allow her to put exactly what I'm going to put. Used my graph. And then she's going to tell me those 4 answers. So it's x equals, you think it's negative 2, so you want to confirm because you want an A. Trace, negative 2. Yep. Okay, what's one of the other ones we think? You think this one is what? Yeah, so let's see. Trace, 1.5. Yep, you're right. And then where do we think that last one is? 3? Nope. Trace 4. Oh, she's right. So we've got negative 2, 1.5, and 4. Again, we confirmed them all with trace. So I've got negative 2, 1.5, and 4. But again, it's degree 4, and I only have 3 things written. So what do I need to do? Yeah, you can either write multiplicity of 2, or you could literally just add negative 2 to your list again, because you understand he's on there twice because he has a degree, because he has a higher multiplicity. Literally, that's all Paige has to show if she is lucky enough to get that kind of a problem. Now, am I still going to go through the steps if she doesn't recognize it? Absolutely. But, just in case, she could always just do that. Seriously. The other problems haven't worked out like that because on one did, but 2, 3, and 4 all had imaginary answers, so we had to go a little further. But this one, since they're all real answers, we're good to go. I mean, and let's face it, why would we want to do all this extra work? We already know the 4 answers. But I digress. I'm still going to do it anyway because I'm extra today. Negative 2 is one of my answers. So I'm going to use negative 2 with synthetic. Breaking down by 2. Positive 3, negative 10, there's 20, 24, and 48, 0. Again, I'm so good at synthetic, I do it fast now, but I know I'm right because I got a remainder of 0. Now, since my problem started off degree 4, the solution is starting off degree 3, so 2x to the third minus 7x squared minus 10x plus 24. And again, it's the opposite sign for the other because my solution is negative 2, then my original must have been a plus 2. And what do you think we should do from here? You would think so, wouldn't you? And I tried grouping, and guess what happened? It failed. Which is okay. I mean, that's life. So I tried grouping. I said 1 group, 2 groups. So I pulled out an x squared. I was left with 2x minus 7. I pulled out a negative 2, and I was left with 5x minus 12. And then I was sad because my things did not match. So I really didn't group. So I failed. So instead of going home and crying in my pillow at night, I just decided, hey, I'm smart. I can do more math than just group. Yes, I use that with synthetic division, but why can't I go and use this one with synthetic division as well? So if in life you fail, that does not mean, hey, let me just quit here on my paper. Why not reevaluate, consider what you've been doing? Like, okay, so I couldn't factor. Factoring sucked. I am pretty good at synthetic. Why don't I do synthetic again? So we are. We're going to use the 4. And then we're going to use our new answers. So 2, negative 7, negative 10, 24. Now maybe I could go back to this and not give up and rearrange this and make grouping happen. But again, synthetic is just so easy. I was just doing, why not just synthetic again? So I brought in my 2. 2 times 4 is 8. 8 minus 7 is 1. Negative 10 plus 4 is negative 6. Negative 24, I get a 0. And hey, I at least didn't blow this because I can take that remainder of 0. So I already knew about the 2. I've already used them. I just used the 4. And then last but not least, this used to be to the third, so now I got to go down to squared. It's going to be 2x squared plus x minus 6. But again, Paige hasn't done any of this because Paige is not going to do any of this because she's going to use my graph, list off her 3 real answers, and good for her for realizing that and not having to go through all this mess. But sadly, I went down this rabbit trail and I have to see it through. I see where the negative 2 and the 4 came from. I still got to figure out that 1.5. I've still got to factor this bad boy. And you'd say, oh, Miss Compton, it's just another guess and check. And that's true. It's still just a guess and check. I know it's a 2x and an x. That's true. But it's not really a guess. I'm not going to guess on this. Because I already know what I need to get. So, for instance, I already know what needs to go by the x. What has to go by just the x. Considering what answers you want, what has to go by just the x. Plus what? Plus what? This one's going to have to be the plus 3. Or the minus 3. And this one's going to have to be plus what? In order for us to actually get the 6, the negative 6, what does that one have to be? Yes. But again, I should have known that one was 2 anyway, because now my answer is x plus 2 squared. Well, duh, Miss Compton, you had a multiplicity of 2. Duh. X minus 4. Duh, that's how we got the 4. And then the 2x minus 3, when you set it equal to 0, isn't that how you get the 1.5? So I kind of already knew what those answers were supposed to be because I already knew the answers because I like my graphing calculator. But again, since I like my graphing calculator, do I actually have to go through this horrible mess? No, not when they're all real answers. We only really need the graphing calculator when we have imaginary answers or we have these weirdo decimal ones we can't figure out. Okay, Paige, you choose 5, 6, or 8. One more. 8, she says. Of course, the one I've written all over. Okay. Surprised she didn't say 5. It looks so short. Paige is adventurous. Why did she pick 8? Why should she not pick 8? What's the degree? So we've been doing 4, and 4 took a while, and 5 is going to take a little while longer because there's 5 answers. So we're going to override Paige and take off 8. Do we want to do 5 or 6? We'll wait for 8 for tomorrow. Why do we want to do 5? Why? How do we know it's short? It's degree 3. Yeah, let's do 5. I tricked you, Paige. I wanted you to say 5 all along. You knew that, though, didn't you? Okay, so if we graph 5, 8x to the third plus 14x squared plus 11x plus 3 we graph it. I thought I was going to get a snake going up the wall because it was a leading coefficient of a positive 8 and it was degree 3. And hey, for once I really did get a snake going up the wall. Yay! What's sad about this snake, though? Where's he crossing that x-axis? No, sadly enough, it's not quite to the dash. It looks like negative 0.5. Let's see if we're correct. We might be, we might not. Trace, negative 0.5. Lo and behold, she guessed correctly. So one of our answers is literally negative 0.5. How many answers do we need? We gotta have 3 because it's degree 3. Okay, so here's my logic on this one, and Paige is not going to appreciate it. So I know one of the answers is negative 0.5, right? And you know that's the same thing as negative 1/2. So in my mind, that meant one of the factors was x plus 1/2. Why do I not want to use synthetic? I do not like using synthetic when there are fractions. Why do I like to use when there are fractions? I like to use long division. Now, right now, that looks like a pain with some fractions with long division. That's why I'm going to rewrite this and multiply by 2 and change this into 2x plus 1. If we set 2x plus 1 equal to 0 and we solve, we would get x equals negative 1/2. I'm just that smart to know that. You were that smart too. The same way that the second, I want to give Gilberto the credit, but I'm not even sure it was him. The second that we saw like x equals 3x plus 2 earlier, you're like, oh, that's negative 2/3 is the answer. Like, I already rearranged it in my head. I kind of knew that rearranges to negative 1/2. Again, why is Miss Common doing all this? Because I don't want to do fractions and synthetic. I want to use long division. So I'm going to do 2x plus 1 into the long thing. I know that I have to multiply by 4x squared, because 2x times 4x squared is 8x to the third. 1 times 4x squared is plus 4x squared. Right now, they don't actually cancel out. You have to change their signs. 8 minus 8, that does die. 14 minus 4, I just get 10x squared. I bring down my 411x. Now I've got to get to 10x squared, so 2x plus 5x. 2 times 5 gives me the 10. X times x gives me the x squared. But since I did 2x times 5x, I have to do 1 times 5x. Then I've got to change everybody's sign. because otherwise 10 and 10 is not canceling out. 10, negative 10, that does cancel out. 11 minus 5, I get 6x. Bring down my 3. 2x to 6x, well, I've got to multiply by 3. 1 times 3 is 3. And I subtract, and I get a remainder of 0, but I was supposed to, because we already knew that 1/2 was one of the answers. So just like with synthetic, if you decide to go the long route, you better get a remainder of 0, or else you completely screw things up. So we did all this math, and we're running out of space. My God, they did not give us enough room on these notes. So we knew the 2x plus 1. That's how we got this negative 1/2. And now we've got 4x squared plus 5x plus 3. What should I do now? What should I do now with this 4x squared plus 5x plus 3? And why am I going to fail? I don't disagree. I sat there for 5 minutes trying and guessing and checking because I'm determined to make this go. Why would I fail? Yeah, so 1 plus 3 is 4. 3 minus 1 is 2. There's no way I'm going to get to 5. That is completely correct. How did I know from the beginning that I was going to fail when I got to here? What about this? What did this tell me about my answers? They're imaginary. I only crossed the graph once, so since the other two aren't, I can't see them on this picture, the other two have to be imaginary, which means we're not going to be able to factor, so which means that's not factorable. So I know because I could not factor this, plus because I looked at my graph, that these two answers are imaginary. Now, I get, for the other problems, I made you actually find the imaginary numbers. You don't have to, on this one, you have to acknowledge there's 1 real, it's a pain, 2 imaginary. Why do I not make you actually figure out the 2 imaginary numbers? Like, why do I not make you figure out something I? Why? We talked about these the other day with the difference of cubes. Why do I not make you keep going? I don't hate you, but what would you need that you don't have time for? You need that quadratic formula. And Lord knows you ain't got time for all that, so we're going to stop there. Put all your things away. Fine, you did good. Don't you have time? How much time you got? A minute? How long do y'all have in here? Okay, well, you don't have to pack it. I mean, if you were trying to get ahead and you wanted to start on that study guide, I definitely recommend 9 through 12. Because the study guide is going to be due on Friday, and you see how long I rambled today, and you know I'm going to ramble tomorrow, so Lord knows you need to get a head start on that.